Welcome back, everybody. About 9 months ago, we had ordered a grain mill, a big cast iron hand crank grain mill, because we wanted to mill our own flour and cornmeal. And it was on back order, and it's still not here. So since we really want to mill our own flour, we bought this mill that goes on the end of a KitchenAid mixer. It doesn't matter if you've got the KitchenAid mixer where the head tilts or the bowl goes up and down. It goes on all of them as long as you've got this adapter here in the front, this shaft where it slides into. They also sell other attachments, a meat grinder and a pasta maker and all kinds of attachments for a KitchenAid mixer. I mean, these mixers are awesome. So today we have bought some Einkorn wheat berries, and we're going to mill this into flour. And we're probably going to try to make some bread as well. And this is uncharted territory for us as we've never used Einkorn wheat, but I'm pretty excited about it because Einkorn wheat is one of the oldest grains known to man. It actually was around in the time of Jesus Christ. So I'm pretty stoked about doing this today, and I hope you'll stick around and watch us. Okay, so when we mill this grain, the directions that came with it say that you have to run it all the way up to 10, so that's wide open. This mill has different settings on the end. This is a dial here that moves, and it has different settings for the coarseness of what you want. Okay, so we have it on the finest because we want to grind this fine because we want to actually make bread out of it. The directions that came with it said to only grind 1 cup of grain at a time, and then to shut it down and let it cool a little bit so things don't overheat. So we're going to add our cup. You want to come over here? Our cup of grain through here. And this is just a grate here. The only purpose this serves is so some idiot doesn't stick their fingers in there. So here we go, guys. You ready? We have changed the setting on this because it was going pretty slow. And I know from grinding corn in a hand crank grinder, if you grind it coarse first and then re-grind it fine, it's not only easier on the grinder, it actually is faster. Okay, so we tried a cup of this because we had read a cup at a time. And this Einkorn wheat is an extremely hard-shelled wheat, and it's actually a smaller kernel than regular wheats are. And it seemed like a cup was just a little bit too much. So what we did was we put it on a coarse grind, and then we tried to run it back through, but the flour itself seems to clump. So we're going to try on the finest grind with 1/4 cup. And this is all an experiment for us. We're trying to figure out what works best, so maybe we'll save you some trouble if you buy one. So we're going to dump 1/4 cup in here. And we're going to put that on the finest grind and the highest setting. And we're going to see how that does.
Much better.
Okay, you guys, so since we just got done milling all of our flour, we have 4 3/4 cup of Einkorn wheat flour. We're going to get ready to make our bread, and I'm pretty excited about this, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's going to turn out. So the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of warm water with 2 tablespoons of honey and 1 pack of dry yeast. And it did say to combine it. So, and the yeast always sticks in this cup. See that? So we're going to make sure we scrape all that in there because we don't want to lose any of our yeast. This is a bread that does not get kneaded. It has yeast, but it doesn't get kneaded. So it did say to mix together. So I'm just going to give this a little stir. A lot of times you just sprinkle the yeast over the top, but it did say to mix it. So I've never made this recipe before, so I'm going to follow the instructions. Probably a good idea all the time, isn't it? So that's mixed. Now this has to sit for 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix it in with our flour. And our flour is 4 3/4 cup of Einkorn wheat flour, along with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And that's pretty well the whole recipe. Okay, so we have in here our half a teaspoon of finely ground sea salt. So we're going to dump that in with our 4 3/4 of a cup of fresh ground einkorn flour. And we're just going to give that a little bit of a mix. And then we're going to dump our water, honey, and yeast mixture in here. And we're going to stir it. It says this will be a really loose batter that's going to look more like bran muffin batter. Now, I've never actually made bran muffins, but I have made muffins, so I suppose it's just going to be a thick batter. And after we get this mixed in here, then we need to cover it with a towel and let it rise for, I believe, a half an hour. One thing I did read about, I don't have an einkorn wheat cookbook, but I did some reading on it, and it does say that since it is a harder grain, it doesn't absorb liquid the way that regular wheat absorbs liquid. So, whereas you would be used to a bread dough being really sticky, this is going to be more liquidy, more shaggy.
More like a batter.
Yeah.
I am really excited for this lesson.
Looking like that's about what we got here. Honestly, that's pretty, definitely not bread-like. I would say that's mixed in there pretty good. We're not going to overwork it. If it's like any other bread, I don't think I want to work with it too much. Get a little more of that moisture up off the bottom. And we're going to move this back into the center of this bowl. We're going to cover it with a flour sack dish towel. And we're going to let it sit here for about a half an hour. And hopefully we're not too far away from bread. Now, before I leave you guys, I don't know if any of y'all are tea drinkers, but I love tea. I mean, I love my coffee. Don't get me wrong. I love my coffee. I like it black. I like it with creamer. I love coffee, but I love tea. And I always have my coffee in the morning, but tea, I like tea in the evening. I like tea throughout the day. And so I found this tea. See that? Oh my. This has the most wonderful smoky flavor. If you like smoky things and you like black tea, oh, this is unbelievable. It says that it's smoked on bamboo. It's in China, and it's over the top of a pine wood fire. It's really good. I'm so excited about it. So if you like tea and you like smoky things, try it out. Okay, so we covered this with a flour sack dish towel, and I did a step after we cut a minute ago. My mom always would take her flour sack dish towel and she would wet it and then wring it out. So it's a damp flour sack dish towel because bread dough likes to stay moist. It needs a moist, warm environment for it to do well. At least that's what I was always taught, and that's how Mom did it. So I did. So I made this damp. Now what we're going to do, you can come in here and take a look real quick. So it's definitely, the yeast worked well. A lot of bubbles in there. It's definitely way bigger than it was. And what it says to do, it says to take this and stir. Oh, I got to stir this first. And stir this. Oh yeah, there's lots of air in here. Now this is going to rise. This is going to rise one more time. And like I said, I am not going to get crazy and work this too much because, oh, you guys, the smell of this is amazing. It smells nutty. I am a little confused. It's definitely a stiffer dough than I was anticipating, but we did follow the directions. So now, since it is so sticky, it says to take a spatula that's in water. This is just a cup of water. To take a wet spatula and push this down into the corners and smooth the top of it out. So, like I said, never made this before, so I'm going to go exactly as it says, and we'll adjust from there. And you can look on the internet and you can read recipes and you can look at 1,000 different people that tell you to do things 1,000 different ways. But honestly, I'm a firm believer in try it the way that it's written to begin with, and if it doesn't work, then start looking for other ways to do it. Don't start looking for other ways to do it before you even tried it. But that might just be me. So, I think that looks pretty smooth down as much as I want to do. I don't want to work it too much, like I said. And now we're going to cover this, and we're going to let it rise again. This is, I can put a link to the recipe. I'm not going to type the whole recipe out, but I'm going to put a link to the recipe in the description. This is actually a recipe from Jovial Foods, who is probably the leader in einkorn wheat products, berries, flour. They sell it all. They sell an einkorn whole wheat flour and an all-purpose flour. So they should know what they're talking about. So I am a little concerned that it's not that it's thicker. It's stickier than it was supposed to be, I guess, but we're going to see. Okay, so we were in our loaf pan, greased loaf pan, for another half an hour. And look at this.
Oh, yeah.
That looks pretty dang nice. We're going to put this in the oven for, what is it, 45 minutes?
35
to 45
minutes. 375.
Put this on the center rack. We're going to try to be a little easy when we put it in there. We don't want it to flop. Give it the thunk test. Sounds like regular bread when it's done. Now comes the long wait. Now we have to wait
15 minutes of cool time before we get to dump it out and see what it looks like.
And 2 hours before we're allowed to cut it. It might not wait 2 hours. Okay, so we dumped it out of the pan. Came right out. Absolutely beautiful. It's nice and brown on the top. Look at it. Oh, it's soft. Look at that. I can't wait.
It smells.
2 hours.
Smells really, really good.
2 hours. We have to let it cool before we can cut it. Okay, so it was a long wait. So let's see what we have. Oh, it cuts nice. It cuts really nice, even though it's on my rickety little table. Oh, it cuts beautiful. You guys, look at this. Look at this bread. It smells amazing.
Oh, wow, that turned out really nice.
We're going to have to pop a piece in the microwave, and then Gino will be the taste tester, because it was not easy keeping him away from this bread for that long. Trust me.
Well, not the way it smells.
I had to threaten him more than once.
Here we go. See if this was worth waiting 2 hours for. Oh, wow.
Good?
That's very, very good. This bread turned out wonderful.
It looks good.
Wonderful. Thanks for watching, guys. Give us a thumbs up. Till next time, God bless y'all. We'll see you.